it. Okay, so let's start.
Okay.
Yeah. So hello everyone. Welcome to Digital Sales Cast episode 2. So I'm your host Biplab Karki. So we'll be hosting one of the, let's say, prominent guest from straight from Let You Know Inc. So he's one of the founder who is into a lot of startups, innovation, entrepreneurship, and leadership activities since a long period of time. So maybe you'll be introducing himself more than I'll be. So yeah, can you please introduce yourself before we begin?
Yes, Biplab, thank you so much. Appreciate, this opportunity to share my little knowledge, I guess, in e-commerce. And my name is Boris, last name is Zhukov. And the company that we are scaling, well, we are building and scaling is called Let You Know, one word, Let You Know, like I'm letting you know, so, and it's the marketplace where consumers bid with instant results. So let's say you want to buy something, right? Such as a new car, because we started with cars, and you want to get your own deal. So you do your research, you get your best offer, whatever that is, whatever the quote is, then go to Let You Know, bid less. If you got it, boom, instantly, that's it. Transaction is complete. Here is your dealer, and you just got your brand new car for your own price. And there is a lot of mathematical matching that goes into it. Just like, let's say, if you think of Google, right? What is it? It's a search, right? Well, we do matches. They do searches, we do matches. They have their own matching methods, right? To implement something where you put into the Google text box, all of a sudden you see a whole bunch of results. AI, of course, would work the same way. So there is some kind of mechanism, right? That sorts and ranks your results. Well, the same with us. There is a mathematical framework behind it that allows these bids and what would be accepted by sellers, all done in real time, live, as if it's actually instant, and it is. So, and that's the math, or the beauty, I guess, the elegance of math to enable something like that, to empower people to pretty much, control transactions on their own terms, right? So.
Okay, so that sounds really interesting. So where do you get this idea of Let You Know? When did you start, and what just kicked in your mind to start this idea?
Well, that's that's a pretty loaded question in the way that it's not exactly that there was a point A or point B. There was a continuum, of different events. Like, let me give you an example. In 2003, we actually reserved the URL letyouknow.com, right, as a domain. Okay, and then it took a lot of years to collect a lot of data. There was no specific purpose behind it. It just happened to be materializing in a way which allowed me to collect a lot of data. All of a sudden, that I realized that a lot of mathematical methods can be applied to matching, these data points. So I'm talking about the supply side as well as the demand side. Essentially, you are mapping the two, okay? And so then in 2016, I started assembling a team, of very talented people. And in 2019, we incorporated the company in the state of Delaware, and we opened our home office in Seattle, Washington, which is our hometown. And from that point on, we just keep on building, keep on scaling. And the goal is to really have, a full nationwide footprint, in 3 years. I'm talking about fully stacked supply. And not just in the automotive sector. We want to go far beyond new cars. We want to have people dictate transactions on their own terms whenever they go to a restaurant. Vietnamese, I want to be able to actually get my own prices. Or like, let's say, if I want to say I'm thinking about alignment, or like, let's say, to change oil, or to buy a jacket, so I want to be able to name my own price on all of that. Doesn't really matter what it is. So let's say if the best offer somebody gives me on alignment is $75, I want to be able to go to Let You Know and bid, let's say, 60. If Let You Know gets into, and that's it, and I get the result, transaction is complete. Okay, or if Let You Know gets into Uber space, I want to be able to get to the airport, look up Uber, it's $30, Lyft is 29, or let's say Uber is cheaper, it doesn't really matter. And I go and Let You Know, and I bid 26 and done. See? I want
Ah,
to be able to do all of that on my own terms, right? And so that's exactly what's behind the marketplace. We empower people, right, as well as businesses, because essentially we are autopiloting the businesses because we have all these technology on the supply side as well, where you practically being autopiloted, so you sell as much as you can, right, at sticker prices, and nothing is advertised. I mean, you set all your hidden thresholds and let you know, so you clear whatever you cannot sell at highest prices possible through let you know, right? Which
nice.
actually makes a lot of sense for businesses, and businesses are getting committed buyers as well, which essentially means that all the transaction costs, all the search costs, all of that is being either eliminated or minimized, right? And so it gives this fertile ground for deals, right?
Mm.
And that's exactly I mean, through market mechanisms, that's how we make it possible. So.
Okay. So actually, I understood your business idea, but as you said, there is some hidden mathematical idea or say supply chain things inside. So do you think these kind of ideas are feasible all over the world, or is it just from US or your country, or let's say Canada kind of countries? Do you think this idea can empower entire world or can go global?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The whole point is for us to go global. In fact, our patents are not just in the US. We have patents, outside of the US as well. I think one of them was approved recently in Taiwan.
Ah,
Anyway, yes, it goes far beyond, the United States. Of course, that's our home market. We're going to make sure that all our models are quite well polished, before we go global. But there are absolutely no reasons for us not to scale
ah.
internationally, and then empower people all over the world, which actually has, I don't want to say like an exponential component inside of the growth in that instance, but it does empower people to do a lot more. Because think about this. If you think about it, like 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, it was a daunting journey, right? To travel, like, let's say 500 miles, right? Let alone a couple thousand miles. Nowadays, consumers travel all over, right? And so if let you know is present all over globally, that means that you will be able to get your own terms as if you're home, except that you could be in some other country, right? Makes no
Hmm.
difference. You want to get that deal. Well, right now you may be afraid you may get ripped off or whatnot, right? Because you have no idea what kind of like, let's say restaurants, what kind of deals they have for locals versus, like, let's say tourists. Well, you don't have to even think about it. You're just going to be the own price, and that's it, done. So if you think about it, it actually will eliminate a lot of anxiety even, right? And you can do so even in advance. I mean, I can bid and get all my prices far into the future, actually booking all these different tables, all these different hotels, everything else. It doesn't really matter what I want to buy. 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road makes no difference. And I will be able to pretty much just go from one place to the next. Everything is prepaid, done.
Nice. That sounds
See?
really exciting. So
Yeah.
yeah, now like since we talk about, then let's talk about general e-commerce trends that coming up in 2024. So what's your plan
Sure.
in this changing era of technology or say e-commerce space? The AI is evolving, cryptocurrencies are booming, AR, VR, new shopping experiences are coming, new technologies are coming. So what do you think you will be incorporating in your business or e-commerces need to incorporate in their business?
Oh, are you talking about that e-commerce has to incorporate all these different innovations? Well, of course. I mean, this is just the way it is. I mean, like, let's say you mentioned a couple of things such as AI, or you mentioned cryptocurrencies, right?
Yeah,
Cryptocurrencies in its own form, right now, it's more like a speculative,
yeah,
maybe medium of exchange, but the idea behind it is a little bit different. The idea behind it is you have one currency, right, which eliminates all the hedging activities
yeah,
because there is absolutely no uncertainty what's going to be the exchange rates between two currencies, right?
yeah,
Which means that there is more certainty for businesses because they don't have to think what will happen to the currency they are doing business at in 6 months when they have to pull it back and get that cash back into their own country, right? For
yeah, true.
people, there's no uncertainty either because it's more like as if you're actually within your own domain of your own country, right? And you are not concerned when you live in one country what's going to be the exchange rate for that particular currency, right, or the medium of exchange. And so the idea behind it is definitely valid. I mean, because you want to eliminate all these different search costs and transaction
Forex
costs.
cost.
Exactly. But there are shortfalls. One of them is, of course, is that you have a supply that's limited by, let's say, algos. So that means the price of the currency itself rises, right? Such as cryptocurrency, etc. But that's not a good, that's not that's not exactly positive.
Mm.
That's actually flawed. It doesn't need to be backed up by anything, okay? Currency itself is just something that you use to buy goods and services. So you want that to be as cheap or actually free. In a more like ideal world, we'd like it to be free. Why? Because if I have to pay, let's say to buy, like let's say my goal right now is to buy, as an example, let's say to buy, a cup of coffee, right? So I don't want to pay for the cup of coffee plus the cost of the currency for me to buy the coffee. Do you see what I mean? I just want to be able to actually give the money, right? And get the coffee. And that's it. And I want it to be an exchange that just covers the cost of coffee plus whatever the vendor is making on the coffee, right? Not like, let's say, any transaction cost that's going to be added on top of that particular product, right? So that's where you have a lot of shortcomings, of course, but anyway, and then you have speculative, of course, component, because you have limited supply or scarce supply, I guess, that's actually controlled by how many coins you can mine, I guess, possibly. And all of that is actually, you're talking about, I know one of your topics that you're big at is all that social, right? I don't want to say sustainability, but kind of like that, right? Some eco-friendly framework, which is obviously good for the world, etc. Now, mining all that currency for the sake of mining that currency is obviously not good, because you're utilizing so much power, which
Yes.
obviously, results in all these greenhouses gases, right? And so you don't want that, obviously, that's something that's not good for the environment, right? And even if you actually use that, okay, in a way where it's eco-friendly, or like, let's say, carbon neutral, like let's say if you're using solar, guess what? You're still actually utilizing some energy which could have been diverted to some other purposes, right?
True.
Because there is no need for you to actually just get all these to mine all these different coins for the sake of mining them so you can make money in a way, right? I mean, it's not exactly a service or a good that you are producing, right, for the welfare of consumers, or I guess of citizens of the world, right? But anyway, but it does bring certain innovations, such as blockchains, right? Blockchains are used, like, let's say, in the security, right, or cybersecurity, is one of the I would say one of the benefits, that the world has reaped because of the innovation, such as cyber, this cryptocurrency. Now, there are some other ones, of course, that are also positive. Now, you also mentioned AI. Well, it's the same deal. If we can rely on AI to lower the cost, right, to lower the cost of businesses, guess what? That means that the cost of many goods and services for consumers is going to be lowered as well. So that means that we're going to have more deals. That means we will be able to enjoy more goods and services,
True.
which is great for us as consumers, right? See, everybody wins. And so the key is, I don't think that those ingredients are all separate. I think it's actually like a one giant soup where a lot of things are being entwined in a way that it benefits everybody rather than a particular, group, or like, let's say, somebody who just invented AI, per se, So in a way, it's more like an integrate, like a more unified, you see what I mean, picture, where a lot of these innovations are benefiting e-commerce, and the e-commerce is coming up with new ways how it can benefit people, how it can benefit businesses, and it's constantly evolving. See what I mean?
Yeah. So actually, yeah, you talked about economics thing. Like a lot of businesses who usually do e-commerce, they are more focused into adding a lot of technology like AI, AR, VR, but they are focusing the basic need. How do we provide the best service or best product to the customers in the lowest rate possible, in the best rate possible? So like you came up with this idea. Like I think we need to focus on these kind of things rather than just because nowadays integrating AI is nothing at this moment. Integrating cryptocurrency is nothing at this moment. But we need to focus on innovating what can solve the problem of the real people. So actually, because of that, your idea, I think, like as you said, you want to lower the cost. So I thought about cryptocurrency is one of the best thing because there is no exchange rate, there is no any control body. Because of that, your costs and your transactions are really easy. So I think That's one of the important thing I feel that e-commerce businesses need also. So mostly the startups, because they can't afford directly to fund more like bigger giants. So we need to focus on lower solutions, better IT solutions, tech solutions. So yeah, I think
So yes, yes,
uh,
yes, yes, exactly. There are lots of innovations. There are a lot of startups, of course, who come up with all kinds of different ideas. But at the end of the day, it's all about bringing value, right? So that's what it is. And so now you mentioned something interesting, such as like, let's say that these companies gotta more like be focused, almost like laser focused in their own niche, right?
yeah,
Rather than the whole scope. And that actually goes back into globalism, which actually is one of the benefits of the globalism, is that international trade promotes comparative advantage. And when I say comparative advantage, I'm talking about resource utilization for the lowest cost possible. So that means that I don't have to give up as many resources to do something, to produce another resource. And that
yeah,
means that overall, we're using whatever resources we have in the best, most efficient way possible. You see what I mean? To maximize the production out of these scarce resources. You see what I mean? So like, let's say if you have so many, let's say if you have so much electricity, so much plastic, so much, like, let's say different rubber and all kinds of other, I guess processing things that you're going to use or inputs that you're going to use in your production. Well, all of that, okay, is limited right at that point. Well, if you can produce a little bit more, right, so your output somehow by mixing all these different things, by mixing also factors of production that you utilize to produce, like, let's say, by mixing capital and labor in the most effective ratios possible, right? Maybe you can somehow, using the same resources, achieve slightly bigger productivity, which means that you create more products, right, or services. And that's the whole idea of people specializing in different niches. That means that I don't have to give up as many resources, or I'm not taking as many resources to produce something where relative to somebody else, but somebody else is better at something else.
mm,
And all of us specialize in all these different, like you said, niches,
yes,
to maximize the overall production. And that's actually one of the benefits of international trade.
yeah. So, I think I like to talk about one thing like we talked about business, startup, and new trends. What do you think about the new era of marketing? Like every business needs a marketing, like most the e-commerce, they are using a lot of social media platforms like TikTok. So, what do you think will be the newer trend, and what's your view for your startup for marketing trends? What do you think will be the next game of marketing in e-commerce?
Well, marketing is one of those topics that I'm not exactly a specialist, okay? So I cannot even say that I know quite a bit. I mean, I do know because we have to obviously use marketing within Let You Know, and that's something that we are constantly learning. So it's not exactly some kind of skill which you can like conquer and know completely. Like anything, it doesn't have any limit, right? Limitless, completely. I mean, there is absolutely no such thing as a cap, in terms of how much you can learn and and what you can do, I guess, with that knowledge. But what I do think is that is going to be more enhanced, okay, by AI.
Mm,
Because, like, let's say AI, maybe, like, let's say you're going to say something into Chat GPT or something like that, right? And it will tell you possibly what's going to be a good strategy, right, to start.
mm,
Then you utilize something, you get data back. AI can analyze that data, refine your strategy. And the point is, I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe with the help of AI, businesses will be able to be more like sharpshooters when it comes to
mm,
marketing, rather than, like, let's say, trying to cover a largest sector of the market, which doesn't necessarily going to become their customers, right? So then they're spending at least a portion of it in a way that's wasted, right? So I think with the use of AI, it will be more channeled more efficiently, to target people, which means that your marketing expense will go down, right? I mean, if that's the case. And also AI will make, because what it does, it reduces the cost, right, of all these different technologies that are just available to businesses. And that means that now you don't have to have like a massive $1 trillion company to utilize the benefits of all these different technological, achievements. I would say that we have just conquered as a human race in the past, let's say, a year or so. So that means that it will be more accessible, and if it's more accessible, that means that smaller businesses will be able to all of a sudden to compete with with their larger counterparts, which is significant. And so it creates more like an even footing, for all these different businesses. So I think the key is it's going to be more channeled, okay, to become more and more efficient. So that means that you're not wasting as much, and you're focusing on your group, and you're harvesting your group, and you're growing that group of people who are really, really your target audience, And then it's actually good for the target audience too, because then the information becomes more symmetric, right? That means that me as a user, I'm presented choices. Of course, it's kind of guided by the UI, AI, which somebody can say can be manipulated. And of course, that's another conversation, another topic, I would say, of conversation. But at the same time, if it's actually done right, it becomes more of a facilitating factor where you have two sides coming together much more efficiently than otherwise would have been possible, right?
Okay, so maybe I like to talk something related to start our business. So what do you think like a lot of startups at this moment, I don't know, in your country, in ASEAN or those states, a lot of youths are trying a lot of startups and the failure rate are increasing. We see success rate, that's true, but the failure rate of startups are also going a lot down. So what do you think is the biggest reason for failure of startup? Maybe it's the team, idea, funding, or execution. What do you think? How can, what's your definition? Like, how do we build a successful startup? If you'd like to say directly.
Well, I believe at the end of the day, it goes into this mental fortitude. There are just some people who can persevere, and there are some people who, can't. And if somebody works on themselves and they understand that there's going to be no sunshine at the end of the tunnel, maybe ever, but they're okay, they still keep working, they still keep pushing, and they somehow go over those, they overcome those obstacles, right? And even though overcoming obstacles just presents more obstacles along your way, and you still don't see any sunshine, like I said, at the end of that tunnel, but it doesn't matter, you still do it. Okay, if there are going to be more people with this kind of mentality, we're just going to have more, success stories. It's just the way it is. And so a lot of times what happens is a lot of people give up along the way, and that's just pretty common, Of course, there are reasons, so you can call them excuses. It doesn't really matter what you're going to label it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's exactly the same. Why you can't succeed is a lot easier to justify than what you must do to
succeed.
something happened, right? It's just always easier to kind of say, it didn't work out because of ABC, and that's just how we humans, we operate like that. It's I guess it's perfectly natural. And maybe it's a good thing, because that in a way, it's almost like, if you think about it, it's almost like an immunity system mechanism, okay, that's developed in us. Because if you're going to continue grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding and make a story like your company a success, well, that's great in the eyes of a lot of people, right? Because you're going to be viewed as this icon, global, let's say, tech company or whatnot. But at the same time, maybe it came at a cost, or that's really tremendous for you as a human being. Maybe your heart is not working as well anymore. You got a lot of health problems, etc. So my point is, success is relative. So maybe if somebody failed, but they still have a happy life, and they made it to 90s rather than dying when they are 65, with that successful company, maybe that's also, a success story, So, but to answer your question, like I said, it deals with a lot of fortitude and mental perseverance. It's just difficult, to go through a lot of different challenges whenever you don't see the results, especially immediate results, and a lot of people just give up, and that's just the way it is. And it's not just today, it's always has been the case. Now, we can actually minimize some of it by creating more innovations, because with more innovations, you have more capital that's actually doing for you all these different miracles. So imagine that if you have a company, like a lot of people are afraid of AI, or like, let's say, you know, technology or capital, because they feel like that will substitute their jobs, right? Because they're afraid to be replaced or displaced by all these different AI or technology or whatever you want to call it, right? But in reality, what happens is, okay, if you have more and more and more technology available, that means access to all of that becomes widespread, which means the cost for that is going down. So that means that you're just going to have a lot more entrepreneurs. And then you can have people, okay, who don't have to persevere. Let the technology, okay, be your own, you see what I mean, kind of employee, you see what I mean, to do it for you. So as we get these technological, okay, achievements, as we innovate and as we make a lot of different things possible that used to be not even feasible, you know, let alone, like, let's say, attainable, some of them were not even, you know, possible to imagine, you know. So like 20, 30 years ago. But all of a sudden now we're at a different frontier. So the more we have of all these different innovations and achievements available to us, the more we can actually converge to this reality where capital or technology can be working on our behalf. And now you don't have to persevere. You see what I mean? And so there are going to be a lot more entrepreneurs who are actually going to be successful because something else is persevering on their behalf, you know, which is amazing. So.
Yeah. So actually, this is one of the most rare question, sorry, the general question I always get from people. Like, I try, I fail in 2 months, it's not happening in 9 months, in 10 months. So I actually advise them, like, it doesn't just depend on yourself. It depends on the business model also. Some business gets profit a lot earlier. Some business needs a lot of time. So you need to have patience. You need to innovate. You need to use technology. Maybe you need to even be a part-time entrepreneur, do something of your own on part-time. You need to do that. A lot of hustle you need to do if you want to be an entrepreneur. So a lot of youths, mostly in LinkedIn, I get a lot of it from the youths, like, please say us, how do you do, how do you do? So I think this will inspire people. I also wanted to ask, like, maybe one of the last question regarding the same topic. So what's your advice for something like someone really young entrepreneur, maybe like 19, 20, or even 20, 18, those kind of entrepreneurs, or maybe someone who is trying to start a startup. So what's your advice for youths mainly who really want to go into the field of entrepreneurship or better career?
Well, in my opinion, you know, the only difference between somebody who is like, let's say, 18 and somebody who is, let's say, 58, you know, it's probably the knowledge and experience, right? But at the same time, if you're going to put yourself through that grinder when you're 18 or 19 or 20, your health should be pretty good. You should be actually able to take those hits, you know, you should be able to withstand the pressure, you know. So in my opinion, it's actually perfectly fine to embrace on those challenges at this younger age. And also, I think there is one benefit that typically younger people, okay, they are more open-minded to many different ideas, right? Like, let's say, and they are not afraid maybe to take that leap of faith, you know. When somebody is, let's say, in their 50s, they're thinking, man, I mean, if this fails, I mean, I'm looking at a pretty bleak retirement, you know, and they're going to have a lot of reservations. Younger people may not have those reservations, which actually is a big benefit. So then they can embrace, like I said, on those challenges, and they can just go for it, you know. And so my whole, you know, advice, if you are a kind of person who believes, you know, that whatever you're doing going to make a difference, and of course, you may want to try it with a couple unbiased people, you know, whom you don't know whether that product would be viable, I guess, within you know, within the economy. But you know, once you're committed, you just should let it rip, you know, go for it, you know. So that's what I say, you know.
Okay. So yeah, I think our time is almost up. So that was really great talking to you. So yeah, have a great night to say.
Oh, Biplab,
Yeah,
thank you so much. It was awesome. You're a great host. Peace bump to you and pleasure. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful like morning for you, I guess.
yeah, and
So,
have a great night. Yeah,
yeah, you
stay
too.
in
Thank you
touch.
so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.